Okay, folks, this one's another grungy piece. A lot of grunginess here, folks. It's what you get when you're on a tight budget as a person living with disability and having to make ends meet. Sunlight's making it hard to show the badges. Sorry, folks. I'm a toner head, folks. Toner heads typically like to flash the badges of their equipments. Even though I'm not a fangirl of the company who built this equipment, I still am a toner head, and I still want to acknowledge what brand it is. It's just a habit of the culture of being a toner head or a photocopier nerd. Because toner head is the technical term you could say for a photocopier nerd. I'm going to stick it on there, stuff it. But basically a photocopier nerd is known as a toner head. And we toner heads don't have any control these days over how photocopiers are designed, and we're the ones that make the best copier systems that you can get, and we don't get any say. And I'm really angry at the industry for making them redundant. I heard it was in 1997, 1998 when they were made redundant. And this is what we're photocopying, a popped balloon. And basically we were made redundant, and I met one of these toner heads in my dad's suburb of Mona Vale. My dad lives in Mona Vale. He's an asshole, incidentally. But basically, this toner head ended up not working with photocopiers, designing them. He ended up working in running a chicken shop to make ends meet. And that's just so wrong. But that's the way the industry's become. It's all about the greediness and the porkery of the people who now currently have become the now custodians, who are not really the custodians. So the toner heads are the ones who design the best copier systems, and we don't have any fucking say. These machines run on legacy software that's been around for decades. Instead of making anything new and exciting, they just change the hardware and make it unworkable so that you have to buy a new copier system instead of having it running for at least 10 years. But the equipments really need to last 60 years, not 10 years. And 10 years, but the reality is they are normally designed to last 5 years, pretty much. And that's really bad. That's a real bad thing that the industry's put upon the world. It's all about greed and porkery, and it's just not fair. And I want to redesign the photocopier from scratch. I want to make the hardware, as I said, last 60 years, not 5 years, as in having serviceability for 60 years, so that you can get spare parts and consumables for 60 years instead of the arbitrary amount of 5 years. And basically we need to keep the hardware in play because it's good for the planet if we don't have to keep replacing it all the time. So the equipment's got to last 60 years, and it's got to be it's got to be serviceable for at least 60 years. And basically, the thing that has to change is the software. The software has to be the part that gets upgraded, and one of the ways of doing that is to not have all these fancy features on the factory set. We have the basic system. We have like the enlargement, the reduction, the zooms, all the enlargements and reductions that we see, say for example, in a system like this. And we keep them, they are like factory standard. And also the double-sided copying and all that sort of stuff, and collating, that's also a factory set value. And basically the thing we do is we have artificial intelligence also built into the basic system. And if we want to upgrade the software, if we want more features like image quality features, like something, for example, like what we have in some of the settings here that I fiddled with, You can download them as apps, have them as downloadable apps, like on an iPhone or a Samsung on an Android phone, for example, in an app store like Apple iTunes or Google Play, for example, and have these available as an option, and basically make them really, 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 really cheap. Cheap as chips, you could say, really cheap. And basically, yeah, we make them cheap. And yeah, and when we manufacture the hardware, it's going to be manufactured out of, what do we say? Out of recycled materials, like from the e-waste dumps of the world, like in places like India and China where these e-wastes are typically dumped. So we use these resources wisely to make these. We make the copier systems also easy to recycle, easy to pull apart at the end of its life, and we recycle it. And basically, what else was I going to say? And when we're talking labour, people who work for us as factory workers, we treat these factory workers as really well. We make sure they get paid a little bit more than what they're typically worth, as in what they're basically worth. We make sure they get paid a good wage and good conditions, good safety, health and safety and all that sort of shit. So we've got to think of the future. We've got to think of our workers. We've got to treat our workers. We don't treat them like slaves. We don't treat them like fucking paid slaves. So, and also we got another thing, we're going to use less plastics in these builds. So instead of all this plastic, we have a titanium chassis, for example. We have a chassis made out of titanium. The panels themselves will also be made of metal. We only use plastics where only plastics can go, and that's in places like wiring and plugs and sockets and shit like that needs to be plastic. Everything else will be made out of metal or glass or ceramic or some other really nice, safe, non-toxic-ish material. And that's come up looking quite nice. I think we can do maybe a switcheroo. And maybe also the panels could be available in materials like anodized aluminium, for example, like the iPod minis from Apple. So we make them really attractive. So we have them available in bright colours, and we can also keep the conservative colours as well, like the beige or this kind of colour scheme, if that's what people really want. It's all about choice, folks. It's all about fucking choice and having a system that works really well. So I don't know if this is a really nice switcheroo, folks. But basically I want to make a difference in the world, and I want to become a philanthropist. I don't want to keep the money for myself. I want the money to go towards good causes as well, most of it. And I'm still going to earn a lot of money for myself, but it's not going to be, I'm going to be giving, I estimate, 95% of my earnings away to good causes for the planet and for humanity. And that's come up looking quite a treat. I think we can now call this demo quits.